Hello everybody, very warm welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining, and it's an exciting webinar today. We're going to be talking with Neptune Software all about low code across SAP Scenarios and how they enable Fusion teams to deliver super apps. So we'll be talking kind of high level over the next 20 minutes about this, and I think really before I make the introductions, that from an industry perspective, 2/3 of app development will be utilizing low code or super apps over the next few years. So it will be making it the most time critical and disruptive trend in enterprise software. So with today, just to really summarize, low code, no code platforms are in the center of Gartner's impact radar for enterprise software. So they are essentially seen as key enablers for citizen developers, Fusion teams, and super apps across SAP Scenarios. So introductions. I'm very pleased to welcome Matthias Steiner and Vincent Kreuzer from Neptune Software. So I guess, gentlemen, first of all, is really, why are you so passionate about this topic? Matthias, can I start with you first, and maybe just give a very short summary of your background as well? Would be great.
Yeah, I spent the majority of my career looking at custom development at the intersection between SAP and the open source world, and then also embarked into the cloud. So I've been following this whole topic of how can we deliver more productivity to software developers all my life, and I finally realized that now technology and the mindset has come to a level where, yeah, we are gaining critical mass, if you will. It's really exciting times. Yes, there's lots of buzz, lots of skepticism as well. So I'm happy to help people navigate through this, I hope, together with Vincent, and just to see what are Fusion teams, what are super apps, how does local platform help on bringing the two together, and really delivering impactful business solutions for everybody in the business space. That's what I'm excited about.
Right. And Vincent, same question really. Why are you so passionate about this space, and yeah, what gets you excited?
I think a lot of it is our recent experience in the design thinking and innovation space. I've been in the SAP space now for probably 18 or 19 years, and the last several years really has been around innovation and driving innovation in large-scale enterprises. But being introduced to no-code and low-code platforms has really allowed me to see how these platforms can bridge that gap and really enable innovation in the organizations, make it something that can be delivered far quicker, and especially be a tool to enable a citizen developer and allow anybody to deliver applications that add value to their roles.
Fantastic, thank you. So we're going to just go through a few slides today. So we're just going to now come on to all around SAP's human-centered approach to innovation. So I think, Vincent, if I may, can I just ask you to give a high-level kind of summary all about this slide?
Sure, no problem at all. So I really like this slide, and the reason for reusing it is that there are a couple of elements in here that stand out to me. One is the recursive approach at the top of the slide. So you can see you starting with explore, which really starts with user research and getting a real understanding for how the users work today. And that goes through the phases of discover, design, deliver, and run. But at every point you can, and in many cases should, come back to earlier points in the process. So once you've hit run, there's no harm in going back to explore and really researching the topic, spending time with the user and understanding have you delivered the right solution for that user. But if you're looking at the purple section around starting with design thinking, everything around this innovation approach and design thinking comes back to people, purpose, and design. People, it starts with user research. Purpose, we really want to humanize SAP, humanize technology, and humanize the experience. And then and then design, which is focusing on innovation and driving innovation, allowing people to be creative and to deliver value in their roles.
Great. And Matthias, any kind of comments around the innovation piece?
No, I also believe that Vincent explained it quite well. If you want to deliver applications or apps that really, meet the expectations of the end users, you have to start with design thinking. I think that's something that I clearly also see the way, and I've seen it being done right and done wrong. And so I would say, yes, it's a great approach to really deliver the applications that fulfill what they need to do. So I'm happy that now with no-code and multi-digital experience platforms, we can help throughout this process and make it much more agile and also deliver applications that meet those criteria in much shorter time to value. And that's the interesting part. So if you allow me now to take this onto a mega trend, if you will, what you see, how does that affect customers, or how can companies really leverage this? Then you will see that there's so many changes, and what people call the new normal or the never normal, as I heard it in a presentation the other day, is all companies need to adopt their culture, to adapt to the younger workforce, the millennials, and their expectations, and how they want to work. They are forced to rethink their approach to technology, because it's so rapidly evolving that if you're not catching up, you're falling behind. And then third one, yes, business models are impacted as well, and we had a digital economy, marketplaces, all of that. So every company is a technology company and a software company these days. We all know that. So the question is, how can companies move from here, where they are with their current pain points, and move to a bright future? And how can local platforms help companies to do that in a secure fashion at their own terms and at their own pace? Right, and we touched upon the cultural aspect, which is always the most important. You always start with the people. Then you say, okay, what do we want to achieve from a business perspective? What's the outcomes that we want? And then how can we build this? But you want to have faster return on investments, more tangible impact, and not have those long-lasting projects where somebody promised you that the grass will be greener. Once you get there, no, you want continuous proof points that you're doing the right things. And last but not least, yes, technology is there, but you need the right technologies for the right people. So again, culture. What are the people that are using local platforms? Will it be traditional software engineers? Are they coming from the SAP side? Are they coming from the open source side? What type of profile do they have? Do you want to leverage citizen developerships? All of that comes into which technology stack you should be using, because ultimately, where does the productivity gain come from? It's not by making things easier. You can never make things easier. You can just hide complexity and allow people to spend the time on value creating tasks and not reinventing the wheel, or a classic in the IT space, replatforming or restacking, or just spending a lot of time with building a technology stack rather than building a solution based on an opinionated stack. And that's where no-code local platform comes in.
Fantastic. And Vincent, is there any kind of key takeaways from this slide as well, from your perspective with your experience?
Yeah, I think just listening to Matthias speak there, I was jotting down a few notes on the side here as well. And the business section really does stand out to me. And if we look at a lot of the nuances that we've kind of gone through over the last few years, a lot of the activities happening in the market today, and the impact that is having on businesses really have a burning need in order to be able to pivot to changing market conditions and changing customer demand. And we no longer have the luxury of being able to do that over multiple years, or even more than 10 years. It's something that needs to happen almost instantaneously. And for the majority of those scenarios, it is only through no-code and low-code platforms that can be enabled, and that can be brought to life for those businesses and for the users in those organizations, but also for the end users that use the products that those businesses create.
I think it'd be a good opportunity. Maybe we could dig a bit deeper now, Matthias. Just moving on to the next slide.
Yeah.
Just before you do that, just composable is this real buzzword, like super apps. So, in one sentence, what's your definition of this whole kind of buzzword of composable? And then that's for both of you. But Matthias, if you could maybe just give your.
Once you're long enough in the industry, things come back full circle. So 15 years ago, I wrote a book about composable applications. So it's quite simple, to be honest, right? If we, for example, go with automotive, and I know I have two petrol heads here with me today. So if you want to build at a large scale a different variety of models, you build a platform, and then you can deliver multiple different cars, a van, but also a sport utility vehicle, or maybe coming from a variety of platforms of shared components, so that you can quickly assemble them. And that leads to higher quality because you're using reusable components. And at the same time, it allows you to build at scale and in an automated fashion. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to empower the IT team to build applications in much faster cycles, at much higher frequency and velocity. And this is when you break it down into components, reusable components. I think that's every software architect would say, yes, that's how you build proper software, by architecting it properly. And what we call building blocks, others would say application components. It's the same thing. Others may simplify it and say Lego bricks, but you have different things, like it could be a business event, it could be a user interface or part of a user interface, it could be some integration logic with machine learning, it could be many things, an API endpoint, or any type of data source. And then you have those, and then you build applications, and you focus on the core business functionality and not on building an architecture stack. And on top of that, you have a multi-digital experience. Meaning it could be a desktop, it could be mobile, it could be a tablet, it could be smartwatch, it could be a smart glass. But at the end of the day, I think for the majority of the people in the workforce, the consumers, a lot of the action happens on the phone. So basically, super apps, just to get back to that, is just back in the days we would have called them portals, enterprise portals, as part of our intranet experience. But nowadays, it's really like your launchpad on your mobile phone. All the apps that I need on my daily business, I have access to them there. I don't need to log on once I have gone through that dance. And I can just use the data. I don't need to know where the data is stored, where it's used. But everything is fulfilling the non-functional requirements because it's governed components. I have corporate identity. And this way you're only doing things once, and then everybody else can leverage it to build applications faster. So you're really building your own repository of components that you can then expose in waves also to non-traditional engineers, the so-called citizen developers, to build their day-by-day apps. And we're talking really simple things, like notifications for birthday lists for managers, or really simple reports that could be automated, but everything is then added to their own individual super app, and that's where really the magic comes from, the productivity comes from, not only in the development, but also the productivity of your own workforce, because certainly, yes, you have a completely digitized business and can interact with your business much better and much faster.
Would it be right in saying, Matthias, also it's not just citizen developers, this is across the whole employee landscape, empower everybody in the business.
Exactly. IT first and foremost will be empowered to act as an application factory, and I really mean it with a reference to the industrialization. Like we're just industrializing app creation. 1, 2, 3 apps a week should be the norm later on. But then suddenly IT also, because they're now much more productive, gain a bit more time. And this time, they need to drive their own transformation from being a gatekeeper to being an enabler of the entire business to help other people also build applications using, exposed components that are free to use, that are easy to use, that are safe to use, first and foremost, and then help the others. But yes, low code traditionally caters to professional software engineers, no code, at least from a marketing perspective, from the way that the term is used, is referring to citizen developership. But they go hand in hand eventually. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the going to one of the final slides. It's just all around the evaluation criteria. So, Matthias, would you like to give us a high-level overview, please, of this?
Yeah, I think if you are convinced that your business could benefit from a local platform, and I just made a very passionate speech why you should, then the question is how should I evaluate platform providers to make the best possible decision. And I always get asked the questions of which no-code local platform is the best, and this is of course a strange question, because you should ask for whom and for what. So, for example, if you want to use a local platform to build SAP-centric applications because you're just preparing for a conversion to S4, for example, or if you have an SAP-dominated landscape and you want to provide lots of employee self-services, for example, then yeah, the UX strategy is pretty much determined by SAP, which is SAP UI5. So you would be well advised to pick a platform that facilitates this. Second thing is, where are you operating the majority of your IT landscape? Is it on-premise? Are you working in a regulated environment or in a regulated business? How fast can you move more towards cloud, towards hybrid? Which platform allows you to start on-prem and move along as you move towards the cloud? These are questions that are very important. And then what are the in-house expertise you want to leverage, to utilize? If you have a big SAP IT team, then yes, would be great to have them really show that they can do much more than just keeping the lights on and develop full stack applications based on their existing skill set without requiring too much upskilling, right? If you have microservice thinking in-house, then you want a platform that facilitates that. And then, yeah, what about mobility? You want to have native development, so iOS SDK, Android SDK, Windows, desktop, or do you want to go with cross-platform mobility? Very important things that you need to answer. And then last but not least, what's the pricing model of that local platform? Is it based on users? Is it based on apps? What is it? Because ultimately, as we said, the only thing only makes sense if you really encourage and incentivize as many apps to be developed as possible. So you don't want to be penalized, by having costs per app. You want to have costs per users probably, because then you can build lots of applications for particular users, and that's where the magic happens. Yeah.
And Vincent, just in summary, really all around super apps, low code, why would customers go with the super apps, low code? What are real key benefits?
I think for me, the biggest thing, and kind of looking at one or two of the previous slides as well as this slide, is that it is a platform play. So composable architecture is great, but if you're doing it in like individual apps without a core platform supporting your development, you are potentially running into a lot of future technical debt, not only from a development perspective, but also integration, et cetera, et cetera. So it all comes down to the platform, and that supports a number of the layers on this slide here. For me, the ones that stand out are number 2 and number 5. Your target landscape, everything around the architecture and the integration, and the experience that you're delivering to the users. At the end of the day, you need a solid platform, and it is that platform play that can help you reduce your technical debt and deliver a better experience for the users and the IT team.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I mean, that was an incredible, insightful webinar. And for all the listeners, appreciate that there's probably lots of questions you might want to ask. So we'll just show you now that if you do want to contact directly to Matthias or to Vincent, the details are there. But I think you can clearly see the future, the revolution of super apps, low code platforms is certainly going to be a huge disruptor in enterprise software. So it's really exciting times. And thanks once again to Matthias and Vincent.
Thank you.